And here is the latest from Leave.EU. Leave.EU on Brussels' plan to delay demands for more money and power until after the referendum. The EU plans to spring demands for more money and more powers on the UK after the referendum. Quote, the EU is holding back demands on an extra €20 billion, wider access to benefits and public services for EU migrants, and a convention granting it new powers to overrule us on issues like prisoner votes until after the referendum, warned Leave.EU co-chairman Richard Tice. These proposals are a kind of time bomb, with MEPs already threatening to tear up the Prime Minister's shabby deal after the poll. Brussels will not hesitate to detonate it once a Remain vote locks us inside their failing union for another 40 years. And there's more on this from Politico, so let's go over there and hear what they've got to say. This is from Politico.eu. Brussels presses the hold button on Brexit. European Union officials aren't just determined to keep mum during the UK's referendum campaign, they're refusing to move key legislation out of fear that they might fuel support for a Brexit. Officials and politicians said several EU initiatives have been put on ice or pushed off the agenda in an effort to avoid stirring up controversy before the June 23rd referendum in Britain. Among them are a mid-term review of the bloc's 7-year budget, which could result in a fight over a proposal to increase EU spending by €20 billion. The launch of the Commissioner's Labour Mobility Package, which would set out new guidelines for the freedom of movement of workers, and the EU's accession to the European Convention on Human Rights, which the UK government strongly opposes, claiming it would infringe on the sovereignty of the British legal system. Even if they expressed relief this week that the UK and other EU countries reached a deal on reforms that British Prime Minister David Cameron said he needed in order to win the referendum vote, politicians in Brussels have resigned themselves to the fact that not much legislation will go through until after the British question is dealt with. These proposals can be discussed after June without creating too many difficulties, said one French official. There's a kind of a deflection of attention to some issues, said Mercedes Bresimo, an Italian MEP from the Socialists and Democrats group, adding that the referendum was causing a delay in some debates, including on the EU's budget. Now is not the moment to create more problems. A French official called the decision to hold back on some legislative measures as a reasonable one. Those proposals can be discussed after June without creating too many difficulties, the official said. In fact, it would be more problematic if we had to negotiate under the pressure of the UK, so in a way it protects the other member states as well. The Commission has until the end of 2016 to submit a review of its 7-year budget, known as the Multi-Annual Financial Framework. The European Parliament's Budgetary Committee isn't expected to see the proposals for revisions until the autumn to avoid a pre-referendum outcry from Eurosceptics over any proposals to give the EU more money. Everyone knows this is not a good time because of the problems with the UK, said Pedro Lopez de Pablo, spokesman for the centre-right European People's Party group in the Parliament. The Commission has been very cautious on all of these things. Nowadays, we're in a public opinion environment that everyone attacks the European Union. But some MEPs on the Budgets Committee say the delay will make their oversight role more difficult by not giving them enough time to consider proposed revisions submitted by the Commission. They say they need to see the proposal now and not in September, after the referendum dust has settled and the summer break is over. They don't want to open that Pandora's box before the referendum, said Polish MEP Jan Olbrycht, a member of the Budgets Committee. We want the Commission to make their proposals as soon as possible. We need a serious debate about the review and the revision. There's no time to waste. When it does come, that debate promises to be controversial, Siegfried Muresan, Vice Chairman of the Budgets Committee, said MEPs are bracing for a far-reaching revision of the remaining budget target to manage the migration crisis, which was not foreseen in 2013 when the current budget was planned. We're hoping for more flexibility and money in justice and home affairs, which includes security at the borders and the migration fund, said Muresan. I am hoping for more money in areas related to foreign policy to improve the conditions on the ground of the origin of the refugees. EU budget fights can be counted on to stir up anti-Brussels sentiment in Britain. Cameron fought hard in 2013 to win a 3% cut in the EU budget, which he then touted back in the UK as a political victory against Brussels. As part of the review, EU officials say the Commission and the Parliament plan to ask for a €20 billion increase to the budget over its remaining 3 years. As part of this review, EU officials say the Commission and Parliament plan to ask for a €20 billion increase to the budget over its remaining 3 years, but they are not slated to make that announcement until July, after the referendum. Also in July, the Budgets Committee will present a report to the Commission on its needs. The Commission will then offer a counter-proposal in the autumn. A proposal for new EU guidelines on labour rules across the Union was supposed to have been introduced by Employment Commissioner Marianne Thyssen in December 2015, but was postponed whilst EU leaders debated measures on welfare benefits as part of the UK deal. According to a Commission spokesperson, certain elements of the so-called Labour Mobility Package, which includes rules on social security benefits, will still be kept on hold until after the referendum. As for other measures in the package not related to the UK deal, the spokesperson said the Commission reserves its possibility to come forward with such proposals as soon as they are ready. But on this measure too, EU parliamentarians are complaining about the implications of the delay, even as they acknowledge the reasoning behind it. I understand timing in politics is key, even though I'm eagerly waiting for the Labour Mobility Package because there hasn't been much legislative work, said Danish MEP Ulla Tornes from the ALDE group. Measures in the package related to social security will have to be brought into line with the terms of the UK deal reached last week, which includes new restrictions on payments to EU migrants and their children living abroad. On some measures, the EU is under pressure to speed up rather than slow down. Cameron made a focus on competitiveness one of his key renegotiation demands, and the Commission has in recent months already worked to accommodate it with proposals to cut regulatory red tape and improve rules for capital markets. That effort is now continuing. Sources said the UK's ambassador to the EU, Ivan Rogers, has been putting pressure on leaders to finish trade deals like the EU-Canada trade agreement and to make progress on the EU-US transatlantic trade and investment partnership before the referendum to show that the EU works. Part of their ask is that you use the trade power that you've been given, said Emma McClarkin, a Conservative MEP on the International Trade Committee. David Cameron is making sure we deliver Canada as quickly as possible. It's been a bit slow. Another topic that's been put on the back burner is the EU's accession to the European Convention of Human Rights, an international treaty on human rights that includes several European countries but not the EU as a whole. The process of signing up to the convention has been contentious in the UK, where Conservatives say its European Court of Human Rights would infringe on the sovereignty of the British legal system. Well, that's already been done with the Lisbon Treaty, but anyway. The court, which rules on complaints from individuals or countries alleging violations of the treaty, has previously held against the UK on such questions as banning voting rights for prisoners and the ability to deport non-EU criminals with family members living in Britain. Cameron has pledged to make sure the UK is exempt from the court's rulings, so re-examining the issue has been pushed off the EU agenda for now. A Commission spokesperson said the EU was currently in a period of reflection over how to proceed with the accession. But some of the Parliament's Committee on Human Rights are eager to see the issue debated. The agreement has to be negotiated again, said Cristin Prada, a Romanian MEP on the committee. The accession of the EU to the convention was seen from the very beginning as a very long process. They just want to take more and more and more and more away from this country. And unless we Brexit, unless we get out now, they're going to take the whole damn lot.